We know Mendo. Welcome
That's
to my
what I'm
studio.
working with. That's what I'm working with.
Yeah. What do you
That's
think?
great.
Yeah.
I've only seen it in video. Now it's good to see it in person.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with a little space if you crop out all the crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a low overhead thing for me just to keep the magazine going.
Well, this concept is great. I mean, putting everybody under one roof and just makes it more affordable for.
Oh, this whole co-working thing, right? Everybody can start up businesses and get things off the ground, and you're not saddled with a huge overhead, right? Which kills most businesses.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Arts Hub concept, only just a different. These are various businesses, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about that. Like, you're talking to some guys that want to develop downtown. What are you hearing? What's the concept?
Well, an Arts Hub is something that myself I've been working on with Ian Kilgore and over the past couple of years, bringing an Arts Hub in the downtown. In the last probably 6 to 8 months, we've started discussions with individuals in the downtown, some business people, the creative sector, and the city, with respect to potentially putting an Arts Hub in the downtown. It's something that Jamie Latham from the creative sector has been really educating me about in terms of why it's needed. I think the downtown would certainly benefit from it, just another attraction in the downtown. But typically, historically, artists have difficulty, paying their bills, quite frankly, the rent, and it sometimes just gets too much. So the concept of bringing everybody under one roof to share expenses, I think that's what's attracting the artists, and we'll see. It's something that's starting to get some legs, and I'm certainly hoping that within the next 3 to 6 months, there's some concrete plans to do it.
Oh, right on. Well, it takes time. I know arts hubs have worked other places. It's a bit of a concept that's been around the block a bit. It'd be interesting to see downtown. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What else are you working on, man?
Well, we're, the parks, the implementation of the parks master plan. I was heavily involved in that during the last term, and we've certainly started the implementation already with the multi-use courts and the waterfront. The all-wheel track is funded, and that's going to start construction next summer. A playground in the waterfront is also happening next summer. Pickleball courts at Burke Playground. So the parks plan was endorsed by council in 2021, and it's up to the next council to continue that implementation, because the public has told us through various consultation that parks and having parks and viable and parks where they can go, the kids can play in their neighborhood, and quite frankly, we need to revitalize our parks all over the city, because that's something we've kind of kept up, but we need to modernize more, and that's what the parks plan speaks to. The downtown waterfront master plan, that's something I've had my focus on along with council. They endorsed the plan in 2019. That is a big part of the revitalization of the downtown. It includes the reconstruction, which is it's a shovel-ready project now. It's going to be tendered in December. The next council will award the contract. Again, we talked about the waterfront park itself, the amenities. We've heard for years and years and years that the park has been developed, but it needs attractions down there, and we're starting to see those attractions, like the multi-use courts, like the splash pad. There'll be a playground, all-wheel track, plus other amenities that the next council, I hope, will continue to implement. It's all about bringing people back into the downtown and waterfront, and the downtown board, the DIA, has started marketing themselves as the downtown waterfront. There's not too many cities that have a waterfront next to their downtown, and to me, it's one big package that we have to market in order to help revitalize it.
Well, I think it's working. It's moving in the right direction.
It is. If you talk to the businesses down there, they're saying this year they're having a very, very good year. I see the increased traffic down there myself. I'm there all the time, every day. So I see the increased traffic, both vehicle and pedestrian. And I just think the next council just needs to continue on. We're going to have some new faces on council. They're going to come with new ideas, and hopefully they can come and with ideas that will add to what's being done there, down in the downtown waterfront already.
How long have you been on council?
I'm finishing my 15th year on council, so 15 years. Started in 2003 with Mayor Fideli, and we'll continued on with Mayor McDonald for 2 terms.
Why?
Why do it?
Why do you do this?
My buddies ask me that all the time. Mendo, why do you do it? And the answer is I still have a passion for it. I still have a dedication to the job, and I still work really, really hard at it. I think I've been an asset to this council just with my hard work, my dedication, the passion I show. I'm involved in a lot of different initiatives with a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations. I think my strength is being collaborative and forming partnerships, because you can't do it alone. I mean, I can have an idea, that's a great idea, but if I'm not involving other groups or other people and being collaborative and forming partnerships, you're going to be on an island. You'll never be able to do anything.
Definitely. You need people that can work with others. Castleholm was a bit of a rough ride this last term.
Yeah, it was. Castleholm, I have, very fond of Castleholm for a lot of reasons.
You were chair of that board at one time.
Well, I was the chair from 2006 to 2014, and the redevelopment actually got approved in 2009. While I was chair, the board did a lot of work at the time to get it on the books for redevelopment. And when I left in 2014, there was a shovel-ready project ready to go. And as we've seen, it's taken another 8 years. It hasn't been an easy process. But even back in 2014, the municipalities were telling us they could not afford the redevelopment, and they wanted us to look at other structures, if you will, because the current structure wasn't working for them. When I left in 2014, we actually had a memorandum of understanding between Canadore, the hospital, the city, and Castleholm that we would look at potentially partnering to redevelop. Obviously, that fell by the wayside, but certainly it has been contentious, and the contentious issue is the same issue that was there in 2014. The municipalities were very loud and clear that they could not afford the redevelopment. And then in December of 2020, when we were advised that we would have to guarantee the province's share, 65 million. So as soon as you guarantee something, it's like you're borrowing the money. So on top of the 50 million that we were putting in as our share, we would have had to put $65 million on our books as a liability. And the municipalities don't own the asset. So you're putting $50 million on the books. If you put another $65 million on the books, all of a sudden it throws your balance sheet so out of whack. And it would have put us in financial peril, the city. What it would have done to the other municipalities is the smaller ones. I was getting calls from mayors saying they didn't know what they were going to do. They were having residents in their small municipalities saying that they would have to move. So I'm proud of the fact that we stood up and we worked with our MPP, Vic Fideli, on an ongoing basis. And he did such a tremendous amount of work getting that guarantee off the table. It took a number of months, but we finally got it there, and there's a deal now on the table that all the municipalities can sign on to. And the one thing the other municipalities do want is they want it to become an actual municipal home, where the city of North Bay actually takes it on as a municipal home. So that process is being looked at as we speak, And again, it'll be up to the next board of Castleholm and the next council to decide what happens with that.
I had Chris Main in an interview yesterday that I haven't put out yet, but we were talking about the Castleholm. He gave his version and the rundown and whatnot. But I was asking him what he thought of the municipality taking it over, basically, being municipal. And he said he wants to know what the benefit is of doing that is. What is the benefit of the municipality doing that?
So the other municipalities have made it very, very clear that they no longer wish to be part of the Board of Management of Castleholm. That Board of Management structure was put in place in the 1960s, and it was specific to Northern Ontario at the time because it worked. It doesn't work anymore. The municipalities to the east, they have Algonquin Nursing Home. So when you got Mattawa, Papineau, Cameron, those municipalities are more tied to that home than they are to this home. The biggest benefit of it becoming a municipal home, so we managed to get the $65 million guarantee that they were telling us we had to put on our books. That's off the table. But we've had to borrow $50 million to put as our contribution with no corresponding asset. So if it does become a municipal home, we get the asset, the benefit of the asset. So it makes the balance sheet more balanced, if you will. And as far as the level of service, again, I was chair there for a number of years. I was a caregiver for two family members through there. The staff there are amazing. The work they've done. I have a lot of ties to that home, good ties. They took such good care of my mom and my aunt. And being on as chair, I know inside and out how it works, but the level of service would not be impacted by the transfer over to municipal home. It would be business as usual. The CEO of Castleholm would continue to administer. Some savings would come in potentially, maybe with HR or finance or something. There could be some savings. But ultimately, the level of care, and all councillors that support this were very clear, the level of care has to remain the same. It cannot be affected.
Well, that's the thing about when you go to a board like Castleholm, you have that fiduciary responsibility that you have to consider Castleholm first, not the city. So I guess the worry is that if the city's running it and they're feeling broke that year, they might let it deteriorate or not put an investment in because of financial reasons for the city.
There's no reason why you couldn't still have a board to operate it.
A separate board?
Yeah, you could have a separate board. Certainly that's an option.
Like the police board?
Yeah, similar. The police is 100% funded by the city of North Bay, but it's a separate board. There's no reason why we could not establish a separate board. I think we need to start listening to what the other municipalities are saying. They don't want to be part of it. Why we would force them,
hold them hostage,
is I don't agree with. And quite frankly, they've signed on to the financing for the redevelopment on the understanding that the city of North Bay will eventually take it over. And I can understand it from their standpoint. You've got Papineau, Cameron, and Mattawa. You've got a nursing home like right there.
Oh yeah, well they're definitely going to be out. That's for sure.
You need to modernize. So if you start taking 2 or 3 or 4 of them out, you might as well look at the whole thing. We need to modernize and bring the structure of Castleholm into the 21st century, not back to 1960 when this Board of Management was established.
The other thing I brought up with Chris, and I'm still not really clear on it, but the Castle Arms end of it, right? Now that's been separated as its own entity and has its own board, and then I thought it was kind of interesting because it must have started public. Now it's a corporation that nobody can control. Do you have any understanding what's going on there?
So I'm a new board member of Castleholm. I guess new in the last 8 months, 6 months, 7 months, whatever. Time flies. I'm still catching up to some things, but Castle Arms.
But you're not on the Castle Arm board.
So
you're just on the Castle Home board.
When in the past, when a councillor was appointed to Castle Home, he was also appointed to Castle Arms, because the board of Castle Home was the board of Castle Arms.
Yeah.
So in the fall of 2021, they changed the structure, and all of a sudden, it seems to be a separate entity. But I guess what I'm looking at, what I'm trying to get more information on is, so if Castle Home and Castle Arms were the same board members, Castle Arms was run by the municipalities, represented by the municipalities. Five members representing 9 municipalities and 2 provincial reps. So if that control has been taken away from the municipalities, I'm still not sure how. I'm not comfortable with that, to be honest with you. I still need more information on that. The law of the land did change, apparently, and not apparently, it did in the last year, where you can't have that structure. The same structure, same board members of Castle Home, same board members of Castle Arms. I might have gone a little bit different and maybe just added on a couple of board members. Instead of 7, go to 9, maybe citizens at large. That way the municipalities would still have control of Castle Arms.
Yeah. The next area I want to get into is a little bit sticky, but I want to see how you can answer it. Peter Chirico's front runner in the mayoral race right now. You guys go way back, but you had a little bit of a falling out when over the gardens renovations thing. Where do you sit with Peter?
Well, you know what? Time heals all wounds, and the gardens issue was certainly when it blew up good, and but I think it's in the past, and myself, I'm looking forward. Can't change what's happened. I've learned a lot from it. Did I make 1 or 2 mistakes during all that process? I think it was definitely a group effort, but I've learned from it. I'm moving on. There's no sense looking back. So I'm focused on getting myself reelected right now, and that's what I hope to do.
So, what's your campaign involve? What are the main points you're trying to get across to people, and where are you going to do that?
Well, in the last 4 years, when I first, in 2018, during the 2018 election, as a run-up to the 2018 election, you started seeing the issues of mental health and addictions in the downtown. And when I got elected, it was one of my focuses. It was one of my campaign platforms in 2018, mental health and addictions. So when I started to, as I do with any other year, I'm committed to implementing what I said I was going to do, and that was one area. When I started getting into it, it's like I didn't know, it's a maze sometimes.
Whole different world.
Yeah. And as much as I come from a business background, economics, and economy. You start seeing real quick that if you don't deal with this issue, one that's really gotten, especially with the pandemic, gotten worse over the last 4 years. You can have all the investment in infrastructure, you can have all the people moving here you want, but if you don't deal with that issue, you're to invest make strategic investments, you got to deal with that issue. So it is my number one campaign platform, community safety and well-being. During the last term of council, all municipalities in Ontario were legislated to develop a community safety and well-being plan. We took that seriously, and we facilitated the development of that plan with community stakeholders, community partners, the experts, the professionals. And the plan came back, and it has 4 pillars: the service network, mental health, addictions, and homelessness. And the plan will help reduce homelessness. It'll improve connectivity to services. It'll ensure adequate support for the vulnerable in our community. and ensure safety and well-being of our citizens. And the plan is a good plan. It's been developed. Now, I'm committed to do my part, if re-elected, to get it implemented. It's one thing to develop it, but you got to implement it. Council is serious about it. We allocated funds to hire a community safety and well-being coordinator to help us implement that plan. All we can do is facilitate. We're not in the business. He's the only employee we have that's even directly related to mental health and addictions. But I think he's started to make some inroads, and it'll take some time, probably the whole 4 years of the next council, to see real significant progress. But I'm seeing it starting to turn now with some initiatives that are happening, and we just got to keep it going.
Well, there's quite a bit of money put into transition housing, shelter and whatnot in the last little while that wasn't quite put into place to show results this year. But yeah, like you say, there's been a lot of work done.
Well, the experts, the service network, the professionals told us that a transitional supportive housing is what was needed in the city. They told us that in 2019. And what is that? Well, if you're an individual that has a mental health and addiction issue, and you've made the decision that you want to transition away from that, these supportive housing units, beds, you've got a place to go, which has wraparound services that you can stay there as long as it takes. But the goal is to get that individual to transition from a homelessness, addiction, mental health way of life back into society. We're developing 61 transitional supportive housing beds at Northern Pines. 16 are operational right now, and they're full. The remaining will be ready for operation probably the summer of 2023. So that's a big step that's a step in the right direction. There's not going to be one big thing that solves everything. There's going to be a bunch of little things, and I think this is one of them. The other one that, if I can talk about, because I'm actually kind of proud of myself, is the Healthy Community Ambassador Program. So just after the 2018 election, I got a call from my brother Vince in Guelph, and he told me about this program in downtown Guelph. Mental health and addiction workers, boots to the ground, patrolling the downtown. Sometimes you see issues, it's not necessarily a police call, but it's maybe a call to a professional. So these individuals, that's where they spend their day, in the Guelph downtown. This was in just the beginning of 2019. So I started going around to the different agencies to see if we get a pilot project started in the downtown. I was able to do that. Now today we have 2 full-time mental health and addiction workers patrolling our downtown, dealing with these individuals every day. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you, to get these individuals off the street, they have to gain your trust. And to do that, it's just everyday interaction, day in, day out. You interact with those individuals, and one by one, they've been having successes. It just doesn't happen overnight.
No, that's a good step in the right direction. Was that happening this summer?
So the Healthy Community Ambassador Program it started with a pilot project in, I'm going to say the fall of 2019. And within the last, over the last 12 months, it's developed into a full-time funded program through CMHA, Canadian Mental Health Association.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right on. A little feather in your cap there.
Well, I mean, it's just something that it was part of my campaign platform, 2018, and I was determined that I was going to try and make some impact myself. You can't do it alone. It was a good idea, yeah, but without Canadian Mental Health Association stepping up and saying, yeah, that sounds great, we can fund that, without the DIA board endorsing it, and initially in the pilot program phase, putting some dollars towards it because they thought it was a benefit. It was a great team effort, and I'm proud of that.
Right on. I'm always interested in marketing and election campaigns. How did you come up with the We Know Mendo?
We started, been around 15 years, and I'm proud to say that both mayors that I served under would tell you that I'm one of the hardest working councillors. So I take pride in that, and the passion I bring. I'm a doer. I want to get stuff done, and I've been like that since 2003. I had a great mentor in Mayor Vic at the time. Again, collaborative partnerships, getting stuff done. And when we started talking about that campaign, it was like, we know Mendo. That's what you do. You're a hard worker. We know you. People know you. That's the way they know you.
I'd have to say you're one of the more accessible elected officials as well, just to give you that. I've never had troubles getting you to answer the phone even when you didn't want to.
Well, that's part of the job, right?
Yeah.
And that actually goes into my second platform, is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I've always believed as a sitting councillor, any sitting councillor, but I'm just speaking for myself, I'm accountable to the citizens, the people that elected me. And I've actually made that my second platform. I want them to hold me accountable. I want them to hold me accountable to implement the community safety and well-being plan. I want them to hold me accountable to continue working hard. I want them to hold me accountable to continue listening and picking up the phone. I want them to hold me accountable to continue being collaborative, forming partnerships, and working hard, because that's what gets things done.
Well, here comes a fastball right at you. How would you reconcile the accountability needed for the Invest North Bay waste of time and money?
So, repeat the question. Waste time of money
Okay, well, the time spent involved in creating something that was supposed to be separate but funded by the council. I know there's some probably legal tightrope here, but a very large contract that didn't get fulfilled, canceled. What do we have to show for the money that was spent so far?
So, Invest North Bay was created by the previous council.
Mm-hmm.
The previous council also.
The one you missed?
The one I missed. The one I was not on. Right. The one I missed. That's a good way to put it. I got knocked on my what. But anyways, That's a good way to put it. They also approved the funding for the contract. Invest North Bay was an innovative idea at the time. They were looking at places like Guelph that was doing the same kind of thing. But by the time I got on, and as a board member of Invest North Bay, so the first meeting was in January of 2019. You could see that it wasn't working. I could see that it wasn't working. And I took it, my job, or what I became part of, was a part of where we see it today, that it's been dismantled. It's still there in name, but basically the way it was structured before has been dismantled. Obviously the contract has been negated. And we're sitting with a surplus of approximately $750,000 now in Invest North Bay. And anybody that wants to see that number can go to the website. The audited financial statements are there.
Can't we just ship it back to the city coffers, like where it came from?
Well, that's a decision that's going to be up to the next council. It's there. It's city money. And it's up to the next council what they want to do with those funds. I personally would like to see it redeployed to economic development issues, because really that's why the council approved the money in the first place back in 2018. That was
the intent.
The intent was economic development, grow the city, right? Again, just myself, when I got on there, I saw that it wasn't working quite the way it was set out to be, and that's through no fault of anybody, because if you don't come up with it was an idea that they tried and it didn't work. I'd rather do that than not sit on the sidelines and not do anything. Don't try anything.
You know what the backroom slogan for that is? Grow the city. This is me coming up with a joke. You don't have to laugh. Grow the city one marketing firm at a time.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I'll keep that for myself.
So that's where we're at today. I mean, it's...
it was a swing and a miss. I'll put it that way.
And I have, you know what? If you don't get up there to the batter's box, then you're not going to accomplish anything. A 300 hitter in baseball is considered above average.
Well, let's just say that it's a good example of what not to do in the future. If you're going to do anything like that again, I think there'd be a little bit more thought given to it.
Well, again, I wasn't around for the thought process.
Good for you. Good decision.
Well, it wasn't voluntary, believe me.
Well, it gave you time to think, and you decided to come back, right? Which is commendable.
Well, I'll tell you, the 4 years off was probably needed for myself personally. It was, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was running myself pretty ragged.
So you got rejuvenated?
Yeah, so it was a good step back, and I think it's helped me coming back with this in this term, because I had the passion, I had the dedication and the hard work, and all those feelings that I had previously while sitting on council all came back, and I've enjoyed this term of council. We've worked well together.
Not bad for a pandemic, eh?
I'm telling you, when that pandemic hit, we were starting to hit our stride in terms of we were seeing people moving here, businesses were interested, and the grow the city that this council took on for this term really started to take off. And then the pandemic hit, and we thought, oh my God, everything's shutting down. But the exact opposite. The exact opposite happened. Yeah. If you were a family in the GTA, a young family with 2 kids, and then you would love to move out of the GTA but couldn't see how, the pandemic showed the way to some people. You can work from home now. So we've certainly as a city benefited from that, and
location.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Right on. Well, we're not far from wrapping up. There's a couple of points that you want to, get out there, discuss, get my feedback on.
Well, my third platform is growth and growth and affordability, and I really believe we need to continue with the growth. We have to. I mean, it's and these are statistics. I'm not making this is a reality. The death rate over the next 20 years is going to exceed the birth rate. Not just here, but everywhere. The boomer generation are seeing to that. If we don't grow, then if we don't continue growing, then we're just going to stagnate and decline, and that's not acceptable to me. That shouldn't be acceptable to anybody. If you don't grow, you become more affordable. You expand your tax base. We need to. We have a labor market, businesses that are looking for employees. They're starving for employees. There was over 500 jobs in Nipissing District in last toll. Places like DSAB, the hospital, Canada, or all these large employers are looking for employees. So growing the city is important. Because it does speak to affordability.
What's the perfect size for the city, though? Some people are worried it would grow too much.
I don't.
It can grow too much,
But I I don't think demographics will allow that to happen. I really think that if the death rate is exceeding the birth rate over the next 20 years, you got to take that into account. So if you increase your population by say 5,000, I don't think that's you're still under 60,000. Is 60,000 a number? I've heard that number tossed around a lot. I don't know. It's to me, I just think we just got to still put the pedal down and keep on growing. We have businesses that are seeking us out, very interested in what's going on here in North Bay.
So in about 30 years, the community center might actually be in the center or something?
Well, who knows? In 30 years, we might be
have to rebuild it,
or we might be there. There would be development around there. Around that area. I would.
Okay, so I gotta bring this up. What's your opinion about the twin pad going out to Omichelle? There's mixed feelings in town. I always thought there was some opportunity down here, West Ferris, and at Gardens still. I don't understand.
Well, I've been advocating for a new community center for 12 years. I remember meeting with Mike Finner at Hortons back in 2008, and him starting to push and minor hockey, started talking to them. My involvement goes back to then in terms of trying to get it done. I remember in 2014 as chair of community services. In January 2014, so about 8 months before the end of that council term, they sat me down and said, here's what's, we need to start planning it now, because West Ferris only has a certain amount of life. So I support it. The twin pad, it's not just about hockey anymore either. I mean, a community recreation center, whether it's conventions or whether it's ringette or whether you're hosting other events, it's a community recreation center. Yes, hockey is it could be the main thing function out of there, but we can't forget that there's about 7,500 citizens that use our arenas from September to May. And how do I get 7,500? Roughly, we have about between 1,700 and 1,800 kids registered. For every child that's registered to play minor hockey, on an average, 3 family members come to see that child play. And you see it all the time you go in there and watch kids play. There you see the stands. So it's needed, it's overdue, it needs to happen. What is on the plate right now? Back when we first did it in 2019, this council put the go-ahead, let's get it done. My preference would have been that it go at Memorial Gardens, but that vote was lost, and that's fine. The main thing for me was we're building a community center. Right now, what we have on the table is we have up to $26 million from the federal government, thanks to our MP Anthony Rhoda, to build a community recreation center. Up until a few months ago, when that announcement was made, we were going it alone. And we were well prepared to go it alone because council felt it was needed. I think the community feels it was needed. So we have that money on the table. There's no way we can say no to that money. We have to utilize that money one way or another. So what this council has done is we've instructed staff with a motion of council at the last meeting in August to go out and redesign based on a net zero project, right? No carbon footprint increase. Let's see what that looks like, and the next council will be responsible to go ahead to pull the trigger on the project. If there's a discussion at the table at the next council as to location, I'm happy to have it. But I don't believe we should be saying no to $26 million. That money's on the table, and we can't say no to it. So one way or another, it's gonna. Is
there a time limit for it? Is there logistics to even say, you go ahead and you get the tender quotes, and it's like more than the 55 that people talk about. Like, is there a break-off point where it doesn't make any sense anymore?
Well, there's always a breakoff point.
Yeah.
But right now we have to match the 26. So right now, 52 million. My expectation is that's what the project is going to come in at. We have actually budgeted, because we were going it alone. We had actually budgeted to go it alone and do finance the whole thing ourselves, $40 million. So now we've got $26 million on the table.
Yeah, but we all know how that budgeting works, man. You just sort of invent a number and you throw it out in the 10, 20, 15 years amortized, and all of a sudden people lose the impact on taxes.
Money,
so you don't spend it here, and
but the money is in the budget, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, well, I mean, that's significant to me. It's significant because staff, John Severino and the staff there did a great job of applying for this program and making it fit to get approval.
Yeah.
So if 26 million is on the table when not a dollar was on the table before, we don't have to spend 40 million anymore. We only have to spend 26.
Yeah.
It's still a significant amount of money, but it's a lot less than 26 is a lot less than 40 million.
Fair enough. We'll see what you guys have, what options you have going forward after the election, I guess. And that's good. Something has to be done for sure.
Well, you can't, sport tourism is huge. It's a big economic driver in the city. And you can't grow sport tourism during the winter months without having...
With double stinks.
You need regulation, NHL ice surfaces, and you need more than one. We have one. We'll have three. And you look at the hockey academy that's they're working on here to implement. That's a great idea. I mean, you're combining education with sport, but again,
I've always said that they should get the jocks out of high schools.
Where do you put them?
Somewhere else. Just kidding.
But if you're going to have a successful hockey academy, and the commitment is there to do it, these kids want to play on and practice on, right?
Yeah.
Regulation ice surfaces. So, and again, we're growing the city, we talk about growing the city. From what I've seen, when an individual or a couple or a family is looking to relocate, North Bay could be one of 2 or 3 or 4 cities that they like, that they're looking into. What do they start checking out? Education. What's our education like? What's our health system like? What are your recreational facilities like? My kids are both into hockey or figure skating or whatever. What's your creative sector like? That's another sector that I've been involved in that is expanding, and we need to continue to grow it because it is part of attracting people to move here.
Right on. Well, last kick at the cat there. What else you want to talk about right before we wrap up?
I gave it a lot of thought before I decided to throw my name in again. I still have the passion and dedication and commitment to working hard. If reelected, I'm very anxious, and I'm looking forward to working with the next council. There is going to be some new faces, and that's a good thing. And I look forward to working with them and them bringing some fresh ideas to the table. And like I said, if someone brings a fresh idea that will help with the community safety and well-being plan, or will help with the budget, or will help with the recreation center, my ears are always open, and I'm always willing to listen, because if someone brings a new idea to the table that works, then I'd fully support it.
It sounds good. I just had a thought. I'm thanking you for hooking me up with your brother Jerry. I bumped into him again just the other day. He was up for the Music Hall of Fame recognition dinner.
Right.
And he made a point to come over and say hi. He's such a nice guy. But it was really cool to be involved with the 5 Dion's thing and whatnot. And I think that represents a little bit what you're talking about, is the potential in the arts in North Bay. It still hasn't been reached. There's just a huge foundation here that needs to be brought up even to one more level. Right?
There's so much potential, and we're not even close to reaching it. I mean, we've made some strides over the last few years. I mean, council is now funding creative industries, obviously the Capital Center, but I've been able to look at the creative sector through my brother's eyes, and he's been an invaluable source to me, because he sees it as well. I mean,
I think it's the heartbeat of the community, really.
A vibrant creative sector is paramount to a vibrant community where you're trying to attract people. That kind of bohemian lifestyle, if you will, in the downtown. I mean, the younger generation speaks to that all the time, and they're bang on. This is what the younger generation are looking for these days. My niece and her husband, they're in they're 40, both of them, and that's what they tell me. Uncle Dave, here's what's happening here in our city, they're bringing fresh ideas. They're coming up with all these ideas that I'm hearing from the people of the same age here in North Bay. I'm hearing the same thing. So I'm committed to the creative sector. I mean, obviously, as kids, it wasn't just my brother Vince was a basketball star. I was hockey, but I wasn't a star, but I was playing hockey. So we went to all those things, but we also went to see my brother in plays. And I remember as an 8 or 9 year old seeing him up on stage, and wondering who is that? I mean, I know he's my brother, but it doesn't sound like my brother. And it just gave me an appreciation early on in life for the creative sector, and I'm bringing that to the council table.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yes, it was. Right on.